Hi everybody. So I recently ran into a problem with recording videos. The software I was using was from a reputable company that has lots of hardware out in the marketplace, lots of software, and you just assume from that they have very efficient, good software, and I was having problems with it locking up a computer, not on just one, but on another. And so I kind of thought, well, it's a computer problem, but it's like, how can this stuff not work on a pretty hefty computer? And so in looking around, I found a free piece of software, which is always kind of scary for me. You know, it's security issues, those kind of things. You always wonder, well, what do you trade off for free? And the software is OBS. And it turns out, in desperation, I was forced to kind of try it and see what it does. And it's incredibly efficient. It's used quite a bit. And even though it's freeware, it's a great piece of software. And I think that translates into some things on the idea of opportunity cost as well, because it seems like kind of a fantasy number. I know it did for me when I first got into the business. It took quite a while for me to really accept opportunity cost as a real thing, or because it's this idea, you know, if we look at term insurance as an example, if I put $1,000 a year, pay for term insurance over 20 years, that's a $20,000 cost. Well, it's not. It's considerably higher than that when we add opportunity or an interest rate or cost of money to that. And you back up and say, well, but I didn't have that money, right? I didn't have it to put in the account. So this is kind of fantasy, and yet it's not. The impacts are very real, and they need to be talked about. We need to understand it, and we need our clients to understand it. But do we have a bunch of time with our clients to be able to go through that and figure that out for them to get to a place where they actually understand it a year later, 2 years later? And I say no. And so we've got several calculators in the Truth Concept software that allow us to do that. And we're going to look at it from a bunch of different directions. And I think maybe what you'll find is one particular calculator actually works better for you and your understanding. And if it does, then maybe you can relay that to your client a little better. When I was in school, in grade school, I would make silly mistakes in math, and it was really frustrating because I would expect 100, I'd get it back, and I would see where I would make several mistakes, put the wrong answer, even though I knew the answer, all because I rushed through it. And so I got to a place where I would take a number and rearrange it to make sure it was right. As an example, let's say, what's 3 times 2? Well, 6. Well, let's make sure. Let's take 6 divided by 3, and hey, we end up with 2, so therefore it's right. Well, the same thing has been done in Truth Concept software. When I look at a number, sometimes people will say, well, how do you know that math is right? It's because I take the number out in one direction, and then I rearrange all the data and push it back another way to see that it comes out to the same place. And so we're going to do that on the next webinar, Wednesday, December 6th of 2023. And we're going to look at that and see some different options. And I think maybe you'll find one that fits you well. If it does, then you can probably translate it easier to your clients where they can see it. Because this is a big thing. It has huge impact. And actually, there's an advantage to not understanding it for most of the financial institutions, because they end up talking about gross return rates, and that's what people look at. We're going to discuss it. Hope to see you all next Wednesday, December 6th. Stay tuned.